Trying to get out of that wind. See if I can hang out here a little longer. It's getting cold, it's dropping. You can see there's snow and rain falling behind me, but I'm in a pocket right now, so I'm going to take advantage of it. Keep going. Okay. Quick background. My name is Ray Zapaniak. I got nothing to lose, so you can use my name. I was an ex-college basketball player at Kent State University in Ohio in the late 80s. Long story short, I moved to Los Angeles, was homeless, became addicted to heroin, got clean in 2013. In 2014, I wanted to stay clean, thus I wanted to move away from the toilet bowl Los Angeles and back to Ohio, but did not have even $5 to my name. I applied to many jobs, but only one replied on Craigslist. It was for a farmhand work in central Idaho. They sent me a train ticket in my early May that included meals. I was ready to shovel shit if I needed. And good for you, man. Good for you. You're a tough son of a bitch to pull out of that hole. When I arrived, the owner of me told me that my job would be to watch over livestock at night along with 6 other men. I was jazzed. We had clear views of where the cattle would be, keeping our eyes and ears open between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. We had four-wheelers to move back and forth as needed. I fell in love with the quad for sure. We'd be spread out into separate small cabin stations and walkie-talkies and 30-06 rifles. We were treated great. Every effort to make sure our company was taken. I was quite delighted yet intimidated by the whole proposition, but was shown how to shoot by the supervisor of the team. Later, I became quite in love with the whole job. My newest favorite hobby was target shooting during the days. Also, running a four-wheeler was a blast. We would also be in charge of several trail cams. At the end of every shift, we would retrieve the cams and return to the ranch. The owner wanted everything documented. This sounds really peculiar to me. Obviously something's going on because nobody watches their cattle like that. Can't wait to see what's coming here. For several months prior to my arrival, cows would go missing, I was informed. Human thieves were suspected. The lack of blood or cow remnants caused most to believe it was indeed humans taking the cows. The rifles only to be used if animal predators were visible. The entire property was lit up like an NFL night game. If we saw something, we were immediately to walkie-talkie the others. All guys would report that area that was possibly compromised with a problem. That never occurred up until the end of my stretch. Also, there's an extremely high turnover rate from the farmhands such as myself. No reasons given. That's usually a red flag too, right? That should have been an indication of something not being right. I overlooked it because I said I was happy. The pay was great. The guys were great, even though we hardly would see each other as we would have our own private sleeping quarters. The only thing I saw constantly were rattlesnakes. Those scared the shit out of me. We're outfitted with logger boots to prevent bites. The boots which I still have and cherish, by the way. It was around 6 a.m., so my shift was nearly over on Sunday, June 29th, 2014, when I dozed off for several minutes in my small cabin-like structure when it happened. Something smashed into the side of the cabin. It was the only side where no windows were. It spooked me so bad that I hit my head on the ceiling as I popped up from my seat. I'm 6'6", and it was a cramped dwelling to begin with. I had a small gash in my forehead. The sun was up, my shift was over, but I was so terrified that all I could do was yell into my walkie-talkie that I had something crash into the cabin. All the other guys were trying to get me to tell them what the hell it was. Crickets. I could not reply. I could not go out there and look. I was so scared. Then it happened a second time. Kaboom. My hands shaking so bad as I felt like I could not breathe. I could not even hold the rifle steady or even locate the safety. I could not even raise the rifle or move a finger. I broke down. I sat in the corner and just started weeping. Within minutes, four-wheelers and my coworkers all showed up. The cabin had huge gashes in the exterior, I later told. I was too much of a mess to look, I guess. I don't remember them taking me out. They got me back to my living quarters at the ranch. From there, I just sat in my room the whole day and with other employees of the ranch coming to check on me. No cows were missing the entire time I worked there. That did not matter to me. I knew I could not work there another night there. I packed all my stuff, told the owner I was done. He understood my fear and paid me double my salary. No one asked me about what it was. I'm certain they knew what it was. When I asked, no one would answer. They would just shrug or shake heads. One of the farmhands took me to a motel in the nearest town where a Greyhound station was adjacent. From there, that would take me on to the airport the next day. They even bought my airline ticket home, plus my hotel stay. When the farmhand dropped me off and asked me for my email, Addie, he told me to check my email when I had a chance later in the day. He told me it may be interesting to me. The hotel did not have Wi-Fi. The next day, I popped open my laptop again at the airport that had Wi-Fi and saw the picture he sent me that apparently came from the trail camera that sat behind the cabin I was assigned. Show it if you want. I don't know what it is. It definitely scares me to imagine the possibilities. I replied to this email multiple times over the years with zero return. That part of Idaho is ground zero for Sasquatch activity according to the data on the line, I guess. I don't go into the woods. I was never an outdoorsy guy to begin with, so I'm not missing anything by not going into the woods. However, this has changed my life. I know there's something wicked out there. I get nightmares about that night. I've only told one girlfriend about it, and she guessed the fear I have. I also told a psychologist about it, and he laughed at me. I couldn't believe that. I did not show him the picture, but I almost punched him and never paid his bill. It's been nearly 7 years since that night. It seems like last night. However, I cannot remember being taken out of the cabin nor getting back to the ranch. In order to get closure of this event, because I'm a bit of a mess because of it, I like to get scared out of my own, like I get scared of my own shadow at times. I hate it. I may have no choice but to go back and just do it. Buy a gun, a sleeping bag, a huge knife, some snacks, and some water, and just sit out there next to the ranch. I already have the perfect boots. Well, there is the picture. What are we going to do? I'm going to save this. Save that. I'll add it to the video, obviously. Who knows what? You know what? Me just glancing at that, it looks like the close-up of a grizzly. It looks like that looks like the blurred, zoomed-up photograph of a grizzly bear to me at first glance. But the more I look at it, the steeper dip that forehead seems to be between the eyes. So, if you go to comparison of the size of the eyeballs, which your average eyeball is going to be an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter depth, that puts those eyeballs real close together like a canine, right? And like I said, with bears, a big grizzly bear is around 4 3/4 inches between the eyes. Now, on the Sasquatch being aspect, notably, most people say it's like an 8-inch gap between those eyeballs. So, don't know what it is, man. First glance, I'm thinking it's a grizzly bear, and then the more I look at it, it looks canine. That's all I can say from this picture. But thank you very much for sending that in. All right, and stay strong. You got this in life. You've got this lifetime. Your success is all a choice away. It's between your ears, and you know that by now too, right? Nothing I can tell you. What do we got here? Okay, I'm starting to get cold sitting on this ground. I'm going to do one more, and then we'll see about getting out of here. Hi, Steve. As everyone else that says, I love your channel. Thanks for what you do and keep it up. Quick background. Me and my husband and I live in northern Washington State and spend almost all of our weekends in the mountains. Both grew up in the Midwest, Iowa and Wisconsin, and moved here after my active duty enlisted in the Air Force was up. We wanted to travel and explore one of the prettiest states in the U.S. while we were young and with no kids. I wanted to share an experience that my husband had last May 2020 when we were hiking in the North Cascades of Washington State. We're out for our usual weekend drive this past winter on the logging roads when the topic of Sasquatch came up. We often discuss it as we both find it interesting and ways to keep an eye in the bush. He recalled an incident that happened last summer, maybe in late May, where he thinks he witnessed a Sasquatch individual while hiking. We had hiked up to the Glacier Lake in the Cascades that is surrounded by high mountain peaks. Lake Serene is the lake, though. I don't think that knowledge is too important, as I know they're all over the Cascades, moving constantly. I'll attach some photos at the end for you to see so that you can have some sort of visual. Anyways, The hike was pretty long, and once we made it to the lake, we were beyond ready to sit down for a while by the water and enjoyed snacks and water with the view of the lake in front of us. He was sitting there, just gazing off, and decided to walk off for a while and get some photos and video footage for YouTube. The beauty of the place is incredible. He was staring off, looking at the top of the mountain line, where there was snow and large boulders. After about 5 or so minutes of just looking up there, one of the boulders stood up, turned to the side, and walked behind another large boulder. He says it definitely had 2 legs and looked much larger than a human, especially from that distance. In fact, a human would probably look no larger than just a speck. He mentioned it to me when I got back, but I think he sort of second-guessed it, and he wasn't sure if his eyes were playing tricks on him. Over time, though, I think he came to realize he definitely saw something stand up and walk away. Well, we'll never know for sure, but I do know that he is a no-bullshitter, and he's also quite an intuitive person with all of his experience hunting and hiking, etc., in the woods. Thanks again, Steve. You are inspiring, and I really appreciate and admire your outlook on life. And when you talked about the real world, it really spoke to me. This fast-paced, mainstream reality thing so many humans are living. It's not the truth of our existence. I'm always learning much new from your channel, and it has really prompted me to question everything in today's society. It's time to wake up. There's so much we don't know and probably never will know. But the least we can do is walk in the right direction towards knowledge. Thanks again, and take care out there. Ashley. The rock I've circled is about the area we're sitting in, though I'm not sure it's not the exact rock, and the arrow shows where he saw it. Another photo of it in the wintertime to show how it would have been looked up there with the snow, since there was no snow at the time. Any of these photos are mine. Just Google, and I added the circle and arrows. All right, that's super. Thank you very much, Ashley. Really appreciate that. And obviously the time it took to send all that, which is time is precious to everyone on the planet these days. Another thing too, I'm starting to realize, you guys, is, time is more precious than any dollar. I'll tell you what. We're all running out of it, and it's too bad. It's just like, say, when we get older, when we were younger, in our 20s, and being real badasses, and everybody older than us always saying, don't waste your time, don't waste a minute of your time, and on and on and on. And it's just too bad we don't realize that at a young age, right? Not that I feel I've wasted time. We've all wasted some time, but every day out here in the real world, man, it's a real bonus. There's nothing better than it. And then you got to bust it up. You can't just become obsessed with topics and tunnel vision on them and dedicate your entire existence to them, because you're going to miss out on so much more cool shit going on. And that's my problem. I want to do everything. I want to absolutely do everything. But another thing I find for myself personally is when I take something on, it doesn't matter what it is, hunting, fishing, a project, building this, fixing up that, maintaining this YouTube page and getting everybody's voice heard, I can't stop until I feel I've completed the mission. So what do, right? You just hope to God you can do it all and keep your sanity. We still got juice. Let's keep this ball rolling, even though I'm frozen now. Frozen. Hi, Steve. Tom from PA again. First off, thanks again for all you do for the people, and the subject is touched and the knowledge to carry on. I wanted to share my Wisconsin story today, but also like to give you a little background on me and the reason for this email. I was just watching your post on YouTube, Angry and a Caution, and we think a lot alike. I want answers. Hell, we all do. I was a councilman in my town for 8 years, and I'm not a politician. That's why I'm no longer a councilman. At first, I thought I could help my town and the people in it, but that didn't happen. The more I tried to do the right thing, the more difficult things became. Yeah, how frickin' brutal is that? I've experienced somewhat of the same myself over the years in various areas. I was approached by at least 4 of the 7 other councilmen to, quote, hop on board, end quote, and we'll show you what we mean, end quote. And when I did my own thing for the town and not for any personal gain, things got bad. I lost my job. My brother lost his job. He was employed by the town. And all because I tried to do the right thing and knew too much. I've seen the bad in small town America, so you know what happens in big government. Pisses me off, and I was in the exact mood you're in. I don't care about myself, I can take care of me, but it's the young and the elderly I feel for. Mainly the young, because it's only going to get worse if we let it. I'm with you on the sign me up for a good guy team. I've seen too many shitty things happen in my little part of the world, and I want to know all I can about what goes on. They say most people couldn't handle it. Well, try me. Sorry for the rant. It's okay, man, I get it. My Wisconsin story is a short one, and I was hoping to have a picture to send of me standing in the front of the little work trailer in the middle of nowhere with a sign on it that read, Bigfoot Research Center. I was 15 and staying with my aunt up in northwest Wisconsin for a few days. The first 2 days were a lot of fun, and the third day, things started to get weird. Things moved, pinging on the roof at night, and people walking around at night. Quote, people. Her nearest neighbor was over a mile away. Well, one night after dinner, we were sitting around the campfire. It was almost dark, and well, after 9 p.m. when the rock started, I just thought it was seeds or something falling from the trees and pinging off the metal roof. Then started hearing someone walking around, and I finally asked my aunt about it because I didn't know if she was ignoring the things happening or just didn't care. When I asked her, she said, oh, it's just the woods people. They don't bother me. I thought she was joking, but soon after that, she walked out of my sight around the cabin. I could barely hear her, but it seemed like she was explaining she had a visitor. I never asked her who the woods people were, but I kind of figured it out. I barely slept a wink that night, but nothing else happened the rest of the night and the following day. I returned to my grandparents' house. I recently asked my mom about her and the woods people, but my mom had no idea what I was talking about. Anyway, my aunt, she was my great-great-aunt, passed away, but she stayed in that cabin well into her 80s. My mom also told me that she didn't want to leave, but she understood she was getting on in age, and it was hard for her, but she went. Well, thanks again, Steve, for all the people you help. The more emails you read on here, the more I question some things that happen to me, and if they ever start that good guy thing, I'm in wholeheartedly. I'd like to lop a few of them bastards myself. Take care, and thanks again, Thomas Brown. Right on, Thomas. Thank you for that email, man. And I'm sorry that you got the shitty end of that stick when it came down to those political opportunistic pricks. And it's funny, I've been in a lot of small town USA, and I think one day, I don't know when, but I'm gonna share a crazy story with you guys. I have a pile of crazy stories that probably 90% of them sound like bullshit, but I got the pictures to prove it. And it just struck a chord when you said the corruption in small town US. Now, I'll give you the quick version. Years ago, I guided a man who was actually buddies with Elvis, and he went to Germany with him in the forces. He's in video clubs with him, and they were buddies till they got back out. And then things happened. I guided him to a bunch of the friends. Had a great time. Flew me down to Mississippi to hang out, Memphis, all over the place. And this guy, to make a long story short, he had police ID. He had a Dodge Viper with the police decal in the back, the SUV, the whole 9 yards. And he introduced me to this sheriff. I'm not going to share the county. Who knows? Maybe later. I'll share my police ID later. But anyway, this guy took me in, and he got me to fill out a work application. Reason for wanting employment at blank county sheriff's department. And I'm thinking it's just a funny thing, right? These people aren't funny down there. They weren't funny there. And I filled out the work application. They took a couple passport photos of me, took my fingerprint, eye color, hair color, height, weight, and I'm like, Sheriff so-and-so, what about right here? What do I put here? And those were the American, what's it called? What's your number called? We're Social Security number? Anyway, our Canadian digits fit in the American digits for a Social Security number, but they're busted up different. And he says, hey, y'all just put your number in there. It'll work out. It'll be all right. Just like that. And next thing you know, I have official police ID, which I use that sucker to cash checks at banks just for an experiment. And I could not believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And later on, I said to a lawyer friend of mine in Memphis, when I showed him, and he blew a gasket. And I said to him, man, there must be a lot of abusive people running around with badges. Because how it works is, this particular character said, quote, I said, how did you get this damn thing? I mean, how do you do this? Because he had captain status, police ID. And he said, hell, I pay off Sheriff so-and-so at this time, it's like 20 years ago, $20,000 a year for his election fund. I do whatever the F I want down here. And we're going to get you a police ID, too, to keep you out of shit way in the South. It's a quote. And so that was really bizarre for me to see that go down. And then I remember saying to my lawyer friend, I told him, showed him the ID, he blew a gasket. And he said, man, I said to him, you know, the amount of, I said, there's got to be some abusive people running around down here with police ID. And he said, quote, I could have a stack of books off the floor this high of the amount of stories of human pain caused to innocent people from these crooked bastards. So there you go. And I'm quite sure that many of you out there know exactly what I'm talking about. It's funny, when we were having dinner in Quinault with Dave Pilatus and Angie, and I was telling him this story, and then I took a photo of the police ID and sent it to him later on to back up the story, and he just about had a backflip. But anyway, I guess that's just a small example of what goes on, and that's the corruption at the lowest form of an elected position. So you can, at that point 20 years ago, I knew then that the higher you go in elected politics, the more of a successful criminal you are, on average, probably, right? But anyway, got a little off track there. It's too bad this is the way it is, but I guess it is until it's a tough go, though. You know, the good guys have always got the big battle ahead of them. It doesn't matter what the topic is. The good guys have always got that huge battle to fight, and it never seems to go away. It kind of sucks, doesn't it? It just kind of sucks. All right, I'm going to get going. I can see all hell coming behind me. I don't feel like getting all this equipment soaked, annihilated again. What the hell? All right, let's do one more before I go. Everything's still ripping. Okay, what do we got? Hi Steve, my name is Kathleen. Please use my first name only. I was born in South Louisiana. When I was 10 years old, we moved to northeast Louisiana on the banks of the Beff River. I guess you could say I was a tomboy. I loved fishing, hunting, and just being outdoors. I would go down to the river every day to fish. And one day, I was in one of my favorite places. There was a huge tree that had grown out over the water. There I could always catch brim, catfish, and perch. I was sitting out there over the water in this tree when I heard a splash in the water to my left. I think it'd be a big fish. I turned and looked. I froze at the sight of a creature standing knee-deep in the water, bent over drinking water for its hand. Then I heard a grunt from about 30 feet up the hill. I then began to move off the tree, and that's when the creature looked right at me. It was about 5 feet in height, was black in color, and that's when I began to really move, trying to get up the 50-foot hill that led back to my house. I heard another grunt, but never saw what was making the sound. I made it to the house and told my dad. He said I'd most likely seen a black bear. I didn't argue and tried to put it out of my mind. That happened on Sunday evening. The following Tuesday morning around 5 a.m., I was getting ready for school. We had to drive around 15 miles just to get the bus pickup. Anyway, I was brushing my teeth when a scream/roar broke out through the morning. I did not only hear it, I felt it in my head and chest. I turned to run out of the bathroom and down the hall of the kitchen where my mother was. My grandmother, who is Choctaw and also almost completely deaf, stepped out of her room in front of me and put her finger to her lips as to shush me and quietly said, "Champé." I looked at her and shook my head in agreement, then passed her to get to the kitchen. My mother had ran into the master bedroom where my father was, and I heard him telling her that it was probably a black panther. I knew that it was not a panther. I went back to my grandmother, began to ask, by her reading my lips, what was a champe? She smiled and said, hairy man of the woods. I knew then I was not crazy, and what I had seen a few days before was real. I've had a few more experiences over the years, but that's another story. I'll still fish every chance I get, but I don't hunt as much anymore. They are real and out there. Thank you, Steve, for listening. I've held this story for 45 years because of the ridicule from family and friends. Keep up the good work and stay safe. Ridicule from family and friends. How weak and how sad are they? Right? And that's not just your story. That's many, many, many people's. Ridicule and laughter. That is your typical sign of humans being scared. And that's all that is. Not brave human beings. But anyway, I'm glad you emailed us. I'm sure you are too. And if you want to email more in the future, the door is wide open. If you want to get all that shit off your chest and send it our way, give her. And you might even want to copy and share this email with some of your ridiculing, scared family members and tell them where to stick it. Right? Oh, I'm going to be in for it now. I got to get going now for sure. Stretch this out a while. And it's time to go. So everybody be safe out there, all right? And mail me when you can. When you decide it's time, you can mail all of us through me, and we'll get your experience and your knowledge shared with the world the way it should be. All right? Be safe.